Yo, what's up, guys? It's C-Jax back with another video. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing The Amazing Spider-Man 1. Now, we all know the book on this film about how people say it's mid, Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker isn't good, the Lizard is bad, all the criticisms. We've all heard that, the issues that people have with this movie. So I thought it would be a great day to come on here and make a video about why TASM 1 is better than you remember. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to discuss about why TASM 1 is better than you remember is Andrew Garfield and his portrayal of Spider-Man / Peter Parker. We all know what people say about his Peter Parker. He's too cool and he's skateboarding and all the other, ridiculous flaws that people try and point out with his Peter Parker. But for me, when I watch the movie, I don't really see the issue with his Peter Parker. And let's discuss why. First off, I love how this movie begins. It shows us Peter Parker sticking his neck out for a kid and helping someone who's being bullied by Flash Thompson. He knows he's probably going to have an altercation with Flash if he helps the kid, but you know what? He does it anyway. And that's a perfect setup for Peter Parker because it shows his natural inclination and responsibility he feels to help others. And honestly, that's also a great introduction for another reason. And that's because Spider-Man, it's not about the suit for Spider-Man. It's about the person who's wearing the suit. And the fact that the movie starts off by showing us the content of who Peter Parker is as a character is just amazing to me. And not only did that scene alone set the tone for who Peter Parker is, the movie also made an effort to show other elements to his character, like the fact that he is an outcast. We see that, when he's interacting with Gwen Stacy in the classroom basically at the beginning of the film. That also lets you know parts of his character. And the movie shows you his nerdy side as Peter Parker as well. It perfectly balances the introduction to the character and shows you all the different areas of him. So that way, as the film goes on and it develops, it makes sense and it works very, very well for the character. And as for Andrew Spider-Man, I love the journey that they take him on in this film. When he first gets the powers of Spider-Man, he starts acting brash and he acts arrogant. And all that stuff that we saw at the beginning of the film of him having that inclination and felt, that responsibility he felt to help others no matter what, all of that is thrown out the window once he gets his powers. He doesn't listen to Uncle Ben. He doesn't follow directions. Like I said, he's brash and he's arrogant. But ultimately, the last line that Uncle Ben says to him about, it's your responsibility to do good for others and to help others, that is also thrown out the window at the beginning, because when he becomes Spider-Man, he's motivated by getting revenge on the killer that killed Uncle Ben. He doesn't care about helping others or doing good for others. He only does Spider-Man stuff for his personal gain and to get back at the killer of Uncle Ben. And all of those moments where Peter acts brash and he's arrogant and he doesn't use the responsibility in the way that he should be doing, like his uncle told him to, all of that comes to head in the middle of this movie, because when he's at the dinner with Captain Stacy, I think Peter had a realization like, you know what? I kind of am a vigilante. You know what? I'm not really using my responsibility to help others and be the best I can be for other people. And on top of that, I'm simply not embodying the best person that I can be. And so once he realizes that, we get the scene on the bridge where he inspires that kid and gives that kid hope and ultimately saves that kid. And at that moment, I think that the element of responsibility, choice, and overall inspiration that Spider-Man can give to other people, I think that's when Andrew Spider-Man realized it, and I think it's a beautiful sequence and a beautiful way for, what had happened for the character up until that point in the film to kind of come full circle and help develop the character as well. And from that point on to the rest of the movie, he continues to develop. He helps other people, and ultimately, they in turn help him, like the crane scene at the end. And on top of that, we see him journey from a vengeful and an arrogant teen to one motivated by the responsibility to do what's right and to help other people, truly becoming Spider-Man. On a quick side note, I didn't mention this, but Andrew Garfield brings a new feel of charisma and nuance to the character of Spider-Man. Whether he's interacting with other people, web-slinging, whatever he's doing, you can tell that the essence of Spider-Man is felt very strong with Andrew's performance as the character. Next, let's talk about some other characters in the movie that were also great. The Lizard / Kurt Connors. He is very good in this movie, in my opinion. I think that the fact that he starts off as just a broken man who wants to feel whole again is something that makes you really feel for his character. And I like how at the beginning, and honestly throughout the movie until he becomes a lizard, we see him having great character interactions with other characters, like Peter Parker. And the ties that he has to Peter Parker in his backstory ultimately make him more interesting. And Rhys Ifans, the performance he gives as Kirk Connors is one that's very good and balanced. He shows you the dark moments with the character. There's mysterious aspect that he gives to the character. And there's also, like I mentioned, the charismatic moments with him as well. And overall, his plan added stakes to the movie. And honestly, his motives are actually pretty solid. He wanted a world where everyone was equal and he wanted to feel whole again. And when he felt whole again, he began to become a little bit corrupted, with becoming the lizard and everything. And so his motives, to me personally, they made sense. Is he the greatest villain of all time? Obviously not. But he's better than the boring and average generic villain that we get in the average superhero movie nowadays that really have no depth or no extra elements of, interest in their characters. Next, you have Gwen Stacy in this movie, who I believe is the greatest live-action love interest that we've seen in a superhero film. The fact that it's a simple act of kindness and bravery that Peter shows at the beginning of this movie, stopping that kid from being bullied by Flash, that's all it took. That simple act of kindness is what caused Gwen to be interested in Peter. And I love how throughout the film, we get to see not only how much Peter matters to her, but how much she matters to Peter. And it makes her more interesting, and you begin to feel for the character. And on top of that, the chemistry between Emma Stone's Gwen and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, off the charts amazing, man. So definitely Gwen Stacy is another amazing aspect to this film. And as for the other side characters in this film, I thought that Martin Sheen's Uncle Ben was very, very good. Slightly underrated too, to be honest. He gave you emotional moments and a lot of great charismatic moments and funny moments as well. He was very good. Flash Thompson in this movie, he literally has a little bit of a side journey. He starts off kind of, brash and rude to other people, or especially to Peter. And by the end of it, he becomes kind of a nice guy, and him and Peter are boys. And also, Sally Fields' Aunt May, she was great in this movie, gave another emotional performance. She's a great actress. Another brilliant aspect to this movie as well is the fact that the cinematography, visuals, CGI, and soundtrack are some of the best that I think we've seen in the history of superhero movies. The visual aesthetic that this movie has, it's very, very just amazing. No pun intended, obviously, but it just looks great. And the way New York looks, Spider-Man's suit, the web-slinging sequences, all that stuff just is brilliant in this movie. And the fact that this film dropped in 2012 and it still is one of the best-looking superhero movies ever is very, very impressive. So overall, I just think that with the cinematography, the performances, the main characters, the side characters, the rewatchability, the character arcs, and the overall amazing origin story that this film gave to Spider-Man, I think that The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is better than you remember. So guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and feel free in the comment section to let your thoughts be known on Amazing Spider-Man 1. Think it's underrated, overrated, good, bad, somewhere in the middle? Whatever you think, feel free to comment that down below. And I hope that everyone has a fantastic day. Peace out.